friends, welcome back to the attic. Pull up a chair, grab your favorite beverage, and let's spend a little bit of crafty time together. Today it is Finish Up Friday and I am finally starting my August Attic Heirloom journal. Actually, it's already finished, but before we get started, I thought I would give you just a little sneak peek of how it turned out. I did this using a recycled manila envelope and did a simple binding technique and used a little sari silk ribbon tie closure. And for this journal, I decided I wanted to do a different kind of binding, so I used a brad binding system, and I thought that would be fun to walk you through how I did this in case you'd like to try it on one of your own journals. These were just some decorative ones that I had in my stash that I thought went perfectly with this Sweet Tea and Keepsakes Attic Heirloom kit. So let me show you how I put the signature in. After we've done that, I finished everything else up off camera in an effort to save time and try to truly get caught up for August. But I will come back and do a complete full flip through of the finished journal. So let's get this journal bound and finally call this one finished. Alright, we're going to start putting the cover together. And I already glued on a coffee dyed dolly here to the cover and did a little bit of stamping with this little background stamp and some walnut stain. And now we're going to just build the spine for this and then put in our signatures. So I've marked where I want to do the spine, and I'm going to do a 1/2 inch spine, but I want it to be a little bit sturdier than what this little manila folder is going to be. So I just grabbed a little piece of, this is the back of a paper pad, and I'm going to cut that just slightly smaller than a 1/2 inch. So let's turn this around and get this cut. Let's use the sides. The other's got tape on it. So let's get this cut at 1/2 inch. And let's see here. I don't know how tall this manila folder is. It is approximately 9 inches. So I am going to cut it 8 3/4. So let's do that. Got 8 3/4 there. All right. And this is just because of the brads that I'm using. I want this to kind of sit to where the brads are flush instead of having a really soft spine there. And so that's the only reason I'm doing this. So let's get this piece glued in. I'm just using some regular Fairly Arts glue here. Use your glue of choice. And get that glued right into the spine here. And the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and cover the inside of this. I could use some of the pages from the kit, but I think I want to use some of this scrapbook paper that I had, and I think I want to start with just, let's see, what do I want to do here? Because I want to leave, I think I want that to be my front, and and this to be a pocket here. I'm going to leave that open. So then I'm going to do it to where it covers like this. And I am going to go ahead and cover the flap, but not cover all the way in here. So let's see what we can do here. I'm going to just mark this where I want that, and I'll cut it. If you are new here, I am not a big measurer. Most of the time I will just eyeball things and mark them to cut. So I'm going to cut right there. Get that lined up. The same thing for the height. I'll make sure I am covering that spine we just put in. So I'm going to go pretty close to the edge here. Get that cut. Trying to do a different sort of binding with all of these Attic Heirloom kits. Okay, let's see. I am going to put that right there, and I'm going to flip and cut. Let's see if that's going to be what I want. No, I need to come in. Let me measure. Do probably need to measure here from there. Let's cut off an 1 1/8. And I saw this little binding technique with brads. I think it might have been on My Porch Prints. I saw it quite a while ago, but when I was getting ready to think about how I wanted to bind this in, I thought about those little brads with the pearls that I had, and I haven't used them since I bought them. And I thought this would be the perfect time for that. So let's see here. Go. And I'll probably come back with some washi tape or something here for that. And maybe make that like that with some added washi tape. We'll just see how that goes. I think I want to go ahead and round these corners here before I glue this down. And other than deciding I wanted to use the brads, I am not really pre-planning this. I pretty much am putting this together as I go. So forgive me if I make a mistake or decide that I don't like what I've done and I redo something. If I don't pre-plan a project and I just kind of show you my thought process, sometimes my thought process can be pretty scattered. Lined up with those. Get this all burnished down. Alright. I'll flip this over. Just make sure everything's good there. We are having a storm, but it is in much needed rain, so I'm not upset about that. Alright. And you can kind of see where I planned my spine here, which was the 1/2 inch. Probably should have marked that a little bit better, but let's see if I can fold that to get those marks. There's one, and then let's do it again. Little cardboard there. This is not the best tutorial, I am sure you can see. But it will show you how you can use these brads for a spine. And I was making a regular cover with a journal spine already. That probably would have been a lot easier, but using that file folder, which I wanted to use, I thought worked out with the theme of the kit being keepsake. And I think I'm going to put some washi tape here. Let's pull these up. And I've got this washi tape that's kind of like a torn edge. And I'm going to use that to my advantage here. I'm going to put that right here. And then that way the prongs for the folders still work. There we go. And I can just cut this. And I can cut, actually I'll just turn that under, that should work good. And let's get this burnished down. And I'm gonna need to pause for a minute. I said there was a storm. My dog is not a fan, so I need to go check on him. And we will come back and continue this cover. Alright, he's doing fine, so let's keep going and see what we've got here. I'm probably only going to do the cover on camera and then do everything else and do a quick flip through off camera. I really am trying to get caught up and be ready for Miss Timber and everything. So these videos are a little less detailed, but let's ink those edges up just a minute and ink up that spine before I get started putting the brads in. And I think I want to go ahead and cover the flap here. I'm not sure what I want to do with that flap. Do I want to maybe that? It's not too bad. Let's see if I can create a template here and trace around that to make those corners. Alright, see if this works. I am super excited to share Miss Timber with y'all. Be on the lookout Monday. I will have the information video and everything all explained, how it's going to work, and the kits will go on sale on Monday. Yeah, that's not bad. Let's see. I think I may go over that with some more washi, so let's ink that up. Everything about this journal will be pretty ordinary, except for the binding with the brads. That's why I'm not going to do it on camera. Again, to save time. And I'm probably not going to do anything real new for this one. I am using these little journals to document my year, keeping things like grocery receipts, how much things cost this year, little notes or cards are received throughout the year, pictures, that kind of thing, just a little bit of a documentation. I need to cut that, but I will do that later. Let's see what I want to do here. Do I want to use that same washi tape? Let's see. Trying to keep and not use too many different things and be a mess. I think this might work. And just fold over. That's not bad. Let's try that. Oops. That's not bad. I like that. And trim that. Now my cat's gonna start crying. It is a needy pet day. Anybody have needy pet days where your pets just are very needy and they demand your attention? that seems to be what this is going to be. So I probably need to go check on him, see what's going on. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and ink up the outside, and then we will be ready, I think, to bind these signatures in when I return. I think he's scared of the storm, but I need to check on him just to be sure, because I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before. My little fella, he is blind. He cannot see. He's about 15 years old, and sometimes he'll get lost in the house and doesn't really know where he's at, and he'll start crying like that. So I want to go check on him really quick. So let me ink this up really quick. And then I'll check on him, we'll come back, and we'll do this binding. Right there. There we go. So I'm liking how that's turning out. So I'm going to sit this right here, and I will be right back. Okay, next thing I want to do is I want to figure out exactly where I'm going to put my brads. And to do that for this, I am going to use my centering ruler. This just has like the center mark here, and then you measure the same distance on each end. Like this is 4 1/4. Let's see, 4 1/2. Not quite 4 1/2 on both sides. So that just gives me a center measurement. And what I'm going to do before I do that is I want to get the center of the spine. And I think I'm going to put one of the brads 1.5 inches down, and that's pretty much what the distance of this ruler is. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that the center of my spine here, and then the same thing here, 1.5 inches down, and then I'll use that as my guide to get my center measurement. So it's not quite dark enough. Right. There we go. A little darker. A little hard to see on this. There we go. Probably should have used a pen. Alright, so it's just a little shy of being 4 1/2 as far as the center. So I'm going to come right to those measurements there and there, and that way they'll all line up. Hopefully, that's the plan anyway. Alright, so I'm going to grab my foam, and I'm going to go ahead and poke the holes for the cover. I'm just using an awl. This came in a little bookbinding kit I got off Amazon. If I can find it, I will link it in the description box. Now what we need to do is line up our signatures. And what I want to do is I want to do the center hole here, and make sure I'm punching my holes correctly. So I could make a template, probably be the easiest thing to do. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to eyeball this again, kind of where I want the top and bottom. Actually, let me get the center here. These are 4 1/8 on each side of the center. So that's going to be my center there. And then, so that one will be there. And that way I can measure and make sure I'm punching my holes in the right spot. That is 1 1/4 from the top. So we've got 1 1/4, and then the center is 4 1/8, and the bottom is 7. So let's go ahead and mark that in here. So we've got let me grab a pen so that I can see these a little better. We've got 4 1/8, I'm sorry, 4 1/8 there, and then 7 will be our bottom, and then is it 1 1/4? Let's measure again. Measure twice, cut once. Is that what they say? Yep, 1 1/4. 1 1/4 here. And hopefully, if I did that correctly, these will all line up. So I'm gonna get these all lined up, and then I'm going to put binder clips on them so that they do not move. And these little binder clips are just ones for sewing. You can use like the binder clips like this. You can use little bulldog clips, whatever you've got, whatever works. Just something, even a paper clip, just something that keeps it all lined up and keeps your papers from shifting, because you want all the holes in the same place. So let's punch these 3 holes. If I can hold on to my awl. And I've got a piece of foam underneath here so that I don't pop a hole through my table or poke myself with the awl with my finger under there. I just want to get those holes opened up. Alright, now the next thing we're going to do is, we could leave those on, but I forgot to double check to make sure I had everything turned right side up. So let's double check that. Hopefully I did. I will say, other than if you didn't get your holes just right, if you did have something upside down with this system of binding, it wouldn't be a total disaster because you could take them out. I'm going to go ahead and put my brads. I'm going to open these holes up just a little bit, just so that they're easier to go through. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and put these through my cover. And I hope they are going to be big enough to hold all my papers. So I want to turn them so that they're flat, so that when I fold the prongs down, prongs are going up and down, not horizontally. I want them going vertically. Alright, now I can try to put all these on at one time, or I can try to do them individually. I'm going to do this one individually, just to make sure this first one works. And it all goes in the way I think it's supposed to. Okay. That's all good. I'm going to go ahead and lay all these in and decide if I'm going to be able to use all of them based on how much of the prongs that I have left here. I don't know that I'm going to be able to use all of the pages. I may end up taking the pages and turning them into pockets, but let's just see. So I'm going to speed this up, put this to some music, and just get these on, and we'll come back and see if I was able to use all of them. I was able to use all but 2 of these, and I think I've got plenty of prong to put down, and I think I might go back over this with some lace just to make sure my pages don't come out of these prongs. If your prongs were a little longer for your brads, don't think it's something that you have to do, but this is basically what we have. And I just noticed I grabbed a brad that is not the same color, so I'm going to go ahead and change that. I'm glad I looked at that. Didn't realize I had brown ones in there in addition to these, so can work this back up. I think I can get this out and hopefully take this other one right back through all of those. Yes. Alright, that worked. There we go. Now, I'm going to grab some lace, and I think I'm going to glue some lace in there when I decorate this whole journal. But this is what we've got so far, is we've got our brads binding our pages in, and I'm going to just fold this over really well. And I don't know what I want to do for a closure. We've got our pocket here. And I may do like a little ribbon closure with an image here. I'm just going to think about that because I definitely do want a closure, because the way I did this, it wants to pop open just a little bit. And I think that's from a couple of things. I think it's because it never was flat when I did the coffee dyeing of the manila folder, and then the actual spine itself holds things open just a little bit. But that's the basics of this little brad binding system. If you didn't want to put these in permanently, this is a great thing if you used longer brads, that you could come back in and out, taking pages in and out if you needed to. So it would be good for removable pages in a journal if you needed that style. But I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to go ahead and decorate this. I'll come back and we'll do a quick flip through. And so there she is, my finished August Attic Heirloom Journal using my kit Sweet Tea and Keepsakes. And I am really happy with how this one came together. I especially like the brad binding. It gives me a little flexibility that if I did want to change the pages I could. And it gave me a nice simple way to secure the signature in while adding another little detail to the finished journal. And with that, I can officially say that my August Attic Heirloom Journal is all finished and ready to take its place with the rest of the collection. We have July, June, May, April, March, February, and January. This collection is really growing. I hope you enjoyed spending a little Finish It Up Friday time with me today, and maybe this gave you an idea for another way you can bind one of your journals. I have tried to bind all of these a little differently, so if you've missed any of those, I will have the playlist for this full Attic Heirloom collection down in the description box. Thanks so much for spending a part of your day here with me in the attic, and until next time, y'all take care.